Welcome to Community Mindfulness Project's Mindfulness Care for the Resilient Caregiver. My name is Erika Long, and I'm one of the co-founders of Community Mindfulness Project. We're a nonprofit whose mission is to help people learn healthy habits to support their well-being, specifically through meditation and mindfulness. This series has been made possible by Grace Farms Foundation. For more information about how they are pursuing their mission to advance good in the world, visit gracefarms.org. It's such a privilege to offer this session to all of you who dedicate your days to safeguarding and improving the well-being of others. We want to thank you for the vital work that you do. This session, we're going to learn how to tune into our emotional experience. Emotions are temporary responses to situations made evident by changes in the body. They typically last for seconds or minutes, and when we speak of emotions lasting longer than that, we're probably experiencing recurrent emotional states over that period of time versus one long-lasting emotion. So while emotions are short-term, fleeting, temporary states with beginnings, middles, and ends, they don't always feel that way. Quite often, they feel solid, defining, and durable. In fact, it's not uncommon for us to describe ourselves as being a quote-unquote happy person or an angry person, like our identity is tied to one particular emotion. The Spanish language has a wonderful way of letting us know that emotions are temporary. There are two verbs that mean to be. The verb estar is used to describe the temporary condition of an object, and the verb ser is used to describe something's essential quality. So which one do you think is used in Spanish to describe emotions? Estar, the one that describes a temporary condition. So wouldn't it be great if all languages had that built-in reminder that the emotion that we're feeling in this moment will change and is not part of our essential quality? So why do we engage in a mindfulness of emotions practice? Formal meditation practices, those times that we spend intentionally engaged in meditation or mindfulness, help us to create healthy habits of mind and help us to carve new neural pathways in the brain to use throughout our day. So by taking time to sit in open presence with our emotions, we're training ourselves to check in on our emotional states. We can go through a whole day without being aware of our emotional experience, but our emotions color the information that we take in, how we relate to others, and the decisions we make. So being aware of our moment-to-moment emotional experience can help us care for ourselves. If we become aware, for example, that we're experiencing an uncomfortable emotion, we can recognize that this is happening. We can acknowledge it. We can investigate it. We can ask ourselves what's called for in this moment, and we can direct some compassion toward ourselves. At least as importantly, we may not often realize that we're experiencing comfortable emotions such as joy. For instance, we might be out walking the dog and our minds are elsewhere, totally unaware that we're experiencing a sense of joy from being outside in the fresh air and the sunshine. So if we take a moment to pause and check in on our emotional state, we're much more likely to be aware that we're feeling a sense of peace and joy. And wouldn't it be great if we were aware of those moments? Lastly, it's been posited that unprocessed emotions are stored in the body and can cause pain over time. Not enough research has been done to support this theory fully. But whether or not you believe it, science shows that there's good reason to be aware of which emotions we're experiencing. The less aware we are of our emotions, the less able we are to regulate them and respond to the information that they provide. It's important to note that emotions are registered in the body, and our physical experience can drive our emotions. The flow of information goes both ways. So just to try this out and experience what I'm talking about, I'm inviting you right now to close your eyes or soften your gaze for a moment. And you can bring attention to the sensation of breathing or the feet resting on the floor. Now, inviting you to furrow your brow a bit and hunch your shoulders in front of you, maybe tightening the arms and the hands. And notice what that feels like. How are you feeling right now? And now inviting you to relax the shoulders. Allow the space between the eyebrows to be relaxed. And bring a gentle smile to the face, to the mouth, and maybe even a sense of smiling at the eyes. Now notice what that feels like. How are you feeling now? And you can go ahead and open up your eyes if they've been closed. When you're having difficulty with something, it can often be helpful to breathe and smile, not to fake your emotions, but to send a signal to your limbic system that you're okay for the moment. This isn't for the benefit of the outside world. It's to give yourself a little bit of relief in the moment. So encouraging you to try that as you move through your day. So let's practice an emotions practice, shall we? So taking a position that allows you to feel alert and relaxed. Maybe there's a real sense of openness across the shoulders. Even so, the heart feels like it's right out there, front and center. Noticing the sense of the feet on the floor. Feeling really grounded and stable, supported. A sense of the seat in the chair if you're sitting. Again, maybe there's a sense of being held up and supported. And bringing attention to the hands, noticing where they're placed and what they're resting on. Really feeling them from inside the hands. And tuning into the sensations of breathing or the sounds around you. And now bringing to mind something that has brought you joy recently. Experimenting with seeing if you can invoke that sense of joy that you felt. Maybe recreating the experience in the body. And really being present for that sense of joy, that emotional experience. Holding that experience in your awareness and being present with it and for it. And rather than this being an exercise that takes place up in the mind, really keeping the experience down in the body, noticing what joy feels like in the body. And if other thoughts come along and bring with them other emotions, allowing those emotions to be present. Noticing what they are and how they show up in the body. So letting the memory go and returning attention to the sensations of breathing or the feet on the floor or sounds in the room. And now bringing to mind something that caused you to experience an uncomfortable emotion recently. Might be something that annoyed you, made you feel impatient, or even angry. And very gently, seeing if to some extent you can recreate that experience in the body. How did the body let you know that there was an emotional experience taking place? Bringing the sense of curiosity and exploration to the exercise, seeing if you can be present for the felt sense of that emotion, even though it's uncomfortable. And again, if another emotion follows on, being present for that, noticing what that one is like. And maybe resting in acknowledgement of how quickly our emotional landscape can change from one minute to the next. Letting that memory go and returning attention to the sensations of breathing or feet on the floor or the sounds around you. And being open to any emotions that may present themselves as you sit here. Recognizing that emotions are a response to a stimulus. So noticing if there's an emotion attached to any thoughts that arise. For example, if you're wanting to get up and move about, notice that this may be a sense of impatience. And what does that feel like in the body? If there's a sense of, I must not be doing this right, there may be self-doubt present. What does that feel like? And maybe there's a sense of, why doesn't she stop talking? And there's some annoyance present. Whatever's present, know that the practice is to be there with it. To notice if there's a change in the body. If so, where does it show up? What does it feel like? And allowing it to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And then returning to holding attention on the breath or the sounds or the feet until you notice another emotion, and then repeating the exploration. So let's try that for a little bit. So emotions are like the sounds around us. They are facts in the moment. So rather than resisting them or pushing them away if they're uncomfortable, if we can, being with them and acknowledging them, naming them maybe saying, frustration is here for me in this moment. They begin to lose their grip on us, and we begin to really trust in our ability to be with our emotional experience. And we begin to have a deeper sense of our resilience. So when you're ready, beginning to move in any way that you want to, and notice how that feels. If the eyes have been closed, opening them and looking around at your surroundings. Noticing any emotions that may arise as you do that. And so to recap, emotions are temporary responses to a stimulus that are felt in the body. And we can become aware of our emotional experience by tuning into the body. And we can also trigger certain emotions by doing things like smiling. Emotions are often fleeting and subtle, and they're not permanent, and they don't define us. When we pay attention to emotions, we become aware that they change rapidly. We also become aware that we can hold the grief of losing a loved one and the joy of seeing a blossoming cherry tree at just about the same time. And it's very helpful to check in on our emotions so that we can understand how we're doing. Emotions can let us know how to care for ourselves, and also how our perception of the world might be colored because of how we're feeling. So, in terms of integrating this into our engaged life during the day, it can be really helpful to change the language we use around emotions. And instead of defining ourselves as, I am sad, we can say, I'm feeling sadness right now. And that can help to give us some space between ourselves and the emotion. So in closing, wishing you well, thanking you for the noble work that you do. We hope that this has served you somehow. Please do feel free to reach out with questions at welcome@communitymindfulnessproject.org. And on the website, there are guided meditations for all of the practices that we've done together of various lengths, and discussions about them as well. If you'd like to check those out, there are also book recommendations and lots of other resources for you at communitymindfulnessproject.org. Also, we'd love to hear from you. If you've listened to this series, shoot us an email and let us know what your caregiving role is so that we have a sense for how this series is being used. And we'd love feedback for how we could make it better. And lastly, before we go, take good care of yourself.